Hey, bookkeeping side hustle community, it's Kate. I'm so excited to have you here today to hear this interview about how you can pass your QuickBooks Pro Advisor certification with ease. I'm interviewing Margie Remmers from Crystal Clear Cashflow. She has a course called Fast and Easy QuickBooks Certification, and we're going to get her top tips. We're going to get her frequently asked questions and get all those answers that many of you have. If you do need to end up purchasing her course for help, you'll be able to get a discount code by listening into this interview. She also has a resource she's sharing with us called Everything You Want to Know About the QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor Certification Test. She talks about that in this interview as well. I think it's a great use of your time. I hope this helps you in your journey to become a virtual bookkeeper. All right, don't forget to bang that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's get ready to have this interview with Margie.
Hey, bookkeeping side hustle community, and this is in the Get Hired sub Facebook group. We are so glad to be here today. I've got an awesome guest. Margie Remmers is with me, and we're going to do a quick overview of how to pass your QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor exam with ease. She knows how to simplify this tangled process, and so we're going to learn from her. If you can hear me, chime in. I'm using a new streaming system right now, so we want to make sure I can see the comments because we are going to ask for questions. So chime in, tell us why you're watching today, where you're watching from, and let us know that folks can hear us. Seeing if I can see us in the Facebook group here. Okay, I do see us streaming here. All right, well, we're going to dive in. First, I would like to ask Margie to introduce herself. Tell us who you are. Tell us your company, your background.
Yep.
Tell us about this Pro Advisor resource that you have available.
Yep.
And anything else you want to say?
All right, so my name, as you mentioned, is Margie Remmers. My company is Crystal Clear Cashflow. I am a lean bookkeeper, QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, and Daily Money Manager. And I, for the last 20 years, was a stay-at-home mom. And I just had a side hustle, like, like you like
Yes.
to talk about, of doing, I love numbers and financial stuff. And I was a, treasurer for lots of organizations, and I taught financial education to 8th graders. And I served as a daily money manager for about the last 7 years. And a daily money manager, if you don't know what that is basically a bookkeeper for personal finances, for people's personal finances, for like senior citizens and people who are physically, mentally disabled that can't handle their finances themselves. And then shockingly, in 2018, my husband asked for a divorce. And I was like, oh, I got to turn this side thing into a full-time gig.
Okay.
So I decided that the natural thing to do would be to add bookkeeping as to my suite of services. And so I decided that the best thing to do would be to get the QuickBooks Online certification and pursue a career as a bookkeeper. And I went through that training and I hated it. I thought it was terrible. And so I just kept thinking the whole time that I was taking it that I could do such a better job. In my former life, before husband and kids, I worked for a medical software company, and my whole job was developing training programs for our proprietary software. So I have experience in taking, complicated proprietary software and drilling it down, making it simple to understand. And so I was like, I could do this for for this QuickBooks Online. But I didn't want to get distracted. I was so focused on, getting my own certification, getting my own business, building. I had to keep my blinders on and tell myself not to chase the squirrel.
Right.
And then I, after I got the certification, I got through that, and I joined, other bookkeeping groups like yours to, get support in my business. I just saw so many other, bookkeepers, wannabe bookkeepers, other accounting professionals who were struggling also with the QuickBooks Online, with the certification. And so finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I said, okay, I'm doing it. So I created the Fast and Easy QuickBooks Online certification course. It takes, if you go through the Intuit training, it takes about 15 hours to get through that. My course takes about 4 hours. I, drill it down. I teach you exactly the skills that you need to know to be able to pass the test, and just, get this checkbox. We've talked before, just, getting this certification does not mean you're a good bookkeeper, but it is a box to check in your, in your career and getting that done. So anyway, so that's where we are.
That's awesome. That's you. And I know that there have been already like a lot of testimonials. I think
Yes.
you said when we talked, your course is about half a year old, but already tons of people have said it was super valuable. So we're going to get into that resource later towards the end. So folks, please listen. She has given a discount code for this, but this is meant to be a free conversation right now. So you're gonna leave here today. We're hoping to keep this to about 20 minutes more, and you'll leave here today with some really helpful tips about this exam, whether you invest in Margie's resource or not. I want to say hi. We got Michelle, we got Ellen, Aisha, Toppy. So glad so many folks are here. I wanted to say, if you have any questions, type them in the comments. You don't just have to say where you're from, though I love seeing how spread out we all are. I will I'll use my discretion on whether to have us jump in and hit Margie with the question right now. She and I have also kind of talked, so we know where this interview is going to go. And so if I know your question is going to be answered, I might hold off, so don't be offended. But sometimes questions are really good to just pop in right away. So type away. I'll do my best to kind of facilitate. That's what I do. So you kind of told us why you created the course to help people pass their certification. And I know, you talked about how some of your own like learning style played a big part of that. And you've heard a lot of other people just share that, they're like, I'm super smart. I have my CPA, or I'm my Series 7, or all these, much more difficult exams because they can't pass their QuickBooks Pro Advisor certification. I just thought that was an interesting part of your story about the way you learn and the way people learn, and so that some people might resonate with that. So what do you think about just in terms of pedagogy and how people teach and learn? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was huge. That was huge for me. One of the reasons that I struggled, I had been using Quicken for, so I've been using Intuit products since 1993. So I've been in this game for a really long time, and as a daily money manager, I use different accounting software, and I just thought this was going to be a breeze for me, right? Like, I'm a smart person. I do well in school, right? But the problem, one of the key problems for me personally, is that I am not a good reader. So I don't learn well from reading. I learn well from hearing. I'm an auditory learner, and then also kinesthetics, which is the actual doing of it. And so that was, when you go through the Intuit training, that's a huge part. Almost the majority of it is just having to read through all the material. And for me personally, and for a lot of my students, that's been a huge hurdle. So my course is all video-based and exercise-based. So you're listening to it, you're following along, and then you're actually doing the exercise, which is another thing. In the Intuit training, they have something called a Pro Advisor Challenge, which is just like they say, hey, try this out, but they don't give you the actual instructions for how to actually go in and do it. So yeah, that's been huge. And unfortunately, the other thing is that unfortunately, the test has less to do with how well you know the software and more to do with how well you can take a test. So if you are not naturally a good test taker, or if you're a non-native English speaker and and just understanding the questions is a challenge for you, then that's where my course comes in and can really help folks.
Okay, so we can ask this now. Aisha's asking if you purchased the course. She already did and is halfway through it. Do we have the course for life if updates come out or someone had to retake it after the 60-day lockout?
Yes, that's a great question. You do have access to the course until Intuit changes. So Intuit will, changes every year. And, when they turn it off, then that's when my course turns off. And so then we redo it based on the new material from Intuit. But if you have purchased the course and you didn't finish it by the time that cutoff happens, you still have you'll have automatic access to the to the new version of the test. So.
Perfect.
You always have access.
Well, let's get into just some general tips that you have for and questions that people ask. So I know we discussed getting into some FAQs that you always get from folks who are interested in your resource. So what are some of the frequently asked questions people have who are kind of brand new, or maybe they've been in accounting for a while, but they hear about this QBO cert, maybe they have their desktop cert. What are those frequently asked questions that you're always getting that people will be able to listen to right now and just have their path a lot clearer?
Yeah. So the number one question that I get is the Pro Advisor certification worth it? Because what happens is, people dive into the material, they dive into the free Intuit material, and they get lost. They try and take the test and they fail, they get locked out, and they're hitting their head against the wall and they're thinking, should I even continue to pursue this? Can I build a bookkeeping or accounting business without the certification, or should I keep trying? And the answer is absolutely, you can build a business without the certification. Absolutely. Unless you are applying for a job at Intuit, which if you want to be a live bookkeeper, you have to have the certification. But if you are, a freelance bookkeeper, nobody's not going to hire you because you don't have the certification. However, having that certification provides you a ton of benefits. The number one, not these aren't in order, but one of the benefits is that it teaches you the ins and outs of QuickBooks Online. So if you are, if you're just using QuickBooks Online for your current clients and you're only using features that current client needs, then you might not be aware of, that QuickBooks has this really cool thing that you can then, suggest to your client that they have. And you're only going to be aware of that if you go through the Intuit training. So that's one.
Right.
Another one is bragging rights. So once you have your certification, you get a badge, which, my logo, which you see down there, is kind of based around that badge, which you can then plaster everywhere. You can put it on your business cards. You can put it on your website. You can put it in your email signature. You can put it, anywhere, and people know that now you are a QuickBooks Online expert. If you introduce yourself and say, I am a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, people know what that is. And that's hugely valuable as you are marketing yourself.
Margie, let me jump in real quick. I've got a quick story. So my very first client is, I don't really recommend this path, but I was a member. I was considering investing in real estate. Maybe I thought I'd buy a house and fix it up or something. So I was going to these real estate investor meetings. Well, that was, I paid for a year membership, once a month. I'd gone to 4 meetings, and I was going to finish out the year. Well, they canceled their speaker one night and switched to a speed networking event. And I had never been to one, but at this point I'd figured we probably weren't going to buy an apartment and fix it up. But I I was already I'd been taking my bookkeeping training that I took for about 6 weeks, and I had just passed my Pro Advisor certification. I didn't have business cards, I didn't have a name or anything like that. I didn't have an email or a business email, but I made myself go to that speed networking event. I sat in my car with Post-it notes and I wrote my name and my phone number, maybe my email, I don't know. And the way the speed networking worked was you were assigned a table, you had to rotate every 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes, you had a minute to talk. And all I said was, I'm a QuickBooks Pro Advisor, because that's really all I could say. That's really all I could say. And I said, I don't have my business cards with me. I don't know if I mean, I didn't lie, but I was like, I just, I came at the last minute, so all I had was this, but here's how you can get in touch with me. And my thought was that I was going to get other people's business cards and I would contact them, but I still have something to pass out. But someone wrote me, and that my first client, she called me because of that. And all I said, like the only thing I had to my name was, I'm a QuickBooks Pro Advisor. And their eyes just kind of lit up because, she had QuickBooks. I have my QuickBooks, or I do the QuickBooks. Like, they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And she knew she needed help. So that credibility, that's a long story to say. First of all, it's a little bit of a hustling story, but it's also just, it does give you some credibility. People know what it means because they know the name Intuit, they know the name QuickBooks, but then they also kind of really don't know. They just figure like, okay, you know way more than I do about this program that I kind of try to avoid. I paid for it, but I don't like to go in there. So I agree. And I have the badge on the bottom of my website. I have it in a footer, so it's on every single page. I have my Pro Advisor badge.
That is a great story. I'm so glad you told that story. I'm going to start telling other people that story too. Because
Post-it notes and speed networking.
Yeah, because people, when you say it, people know. So that's fabulous. The third thing, though, which is also hugely valuable, is that once you get your certification, you can be listed on Intuit's Pro Advisor website. And what this means is that Intuit has a thing called Find an Accountant. And people go on Google and they are searching for an accountant in their area or their account, looking for a bookkeeper or somebody to do their 1099s or taxes or whatever it is. And they go on this website and they can find you, and you can collect reviews on the website. You can have your little spiel on the website. You can use, if you don't have a website, you can just use the Pro Advisor website as your website until you get going.
It has your phone number. It has phone number. It has email. They contact you through that portal. It tells you what your specialties are. Like, you don't have to click all. You can select a few niches.
Yes.
That's a really good idea. And you could put that URL on a business card. Like, if you didn't want to buy a domain, that's really interesting. Yeah, use it as a website.
Yeah, or you could buy a domain but not the website part and just forward it. So
okay.
Like places like GoDaddy allow you to do that. So yeah. So is the Pro Advisor certification worth it? Yes. Absolutely, yes. So getting into the test itself, the next question people want to know is, do I have to take the test all in one sitting? The current version of the test, and we're recording this in January 2021, the current version of the test has 6 sections. And those 6, you can take one section and then not take the other section for 6 months. So you do have to take each section, you do have to finish that entire section and submit it in one sitting. In one sitting,
okay.
But once you've done that section, you can do other things. And that's available to you until they switch the test again, which will probably be November of this year. So
depending on your life schedule, you could take one section a morning over 6 mornings. You could take one section a Saturday for 6 Saturdays. You could take it one section an hour for a Saturday afternoon and do it all. Okay.
Yes, yes. So that's one. The next question people ask is it timed? So the test itself is not timed. So you can take as long as you want. The basic certification currently has either 13 or 14 questions. Typically takes about 35 minutes to take each section. But if you're, again, if you take a long time, if you are just one of those super thorough people, or you're not a good test taker, so you're really nervous and you take a really long time, the test is not gonna, there's no timer, the test is not gonna kick you out. However, your QuickBooks Online login does time out. So there is a feature, if you go into the gear, company settings, advanced, other preferences, all that, you can set your inactivity timeout to up to 3 hours. And technically inactivity means you're not doing anything and then they log you out, but you know how these things work with computers. Like sometimes even if you're in them, they think you're not, and so they
Right.
keep you out. So you can go in and change your inactivity settings so that you can do it up to 3 hours. So you have as long as possible before your login times out. Now, if your login times out and you're right there and you log back in immediately, your test will still be there. But I would prefer, I think that you shouldn't take that risk, right?
Oh my gosh. I've been watching people for like 2.5, 3 years, like figure out how to become a bookkeeper, and there are assume glitchiness with the test, people. So do not start your test without setting your settings for 3 hours to time out, because it is I think most people have to retake a section because it just kind of poof vanishes. I've heard stories of make sure you screenshot that you finished a section so you can wrestle with QB support saying no, I really did do it, and here's my screenshot of the end. So assume max glitchiness, and then hopefully that won't be the case.
Right.
But it's an easy setting to do, guys. So she's not going to walk us through it now, but figure out how to do it. You can email Margie, ask in the Bookkeeping Side Hustle group how to change that setting.
And this might be a good time to mention, I do have a document called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About the QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor Certification Test.
Okay.
And and it has all answers to all these FAQs that we're talking about, additional tips we're going to talk about for when you actually are taking the test. And anybody that wants a copy of that can just email me. Right now, it's just Margie at crystalclearcashflow.com. At some point, I'll set it up so you can, sign up for it on my website. And depending on when you're watching this video, it might be, Kate might have it in a link below. But for right now, at this moment that we're filming, just email me, Margie at crystalclearcashflow.com, and I'll send you the document. And it includes instructions on how to change that inactivity timeout.
Awesome. So what other FAQs do you get?
So the next thing people want to know is when do I get my results? And the answer to that is kind of unfortunate. You do not actually know if you've passed the test until you have taken and submitted all 6 sections. So you do not get, you're not going to get, when you finish one section, you don't know right away if you pass that section. Now, the unfortunate thing is that some people in some logins, speaking of glitchiness, some people do get their results right away. Some people, it will tell them that they passed. I know when I took it, some of the sections I got a little trophy and it said passed, and other sections I didn't get the trophy. And so I was like, well, does that mean I didn't pass? But I did pass, which I found out when I submitted the whole thing. So if you get like a trophy, or you get something that says you passed for a section, don't trust it. Don't trust it. I even have one student who got the message that she passed, but then when she submitted it, it said she hadn't passed. So don't trust it. don't trust it until you have submitted the entire thing.
Okay.
And then the last thing, the last question is, if I fail, do I have to retake the whole test? And the answer is no. So in order to pass the test, you have to get 80%, at least 80% on each section. So in the basic course with 13 or 14 questions, that means you can miss up to 2 questions in each section. If you miss 3 questions, then you fail. But you only have to retake this. You only have to retake the sections that you failed. Now, QuickBooks will not tell you which questions you missed. They will only tell you what concepts you need to go back and look at. And when you take the retake, it's not the same test. So there isn't a whole lot of value in, saving your answers and then making sure that you give a different answer next time, because you're not necessarily going to see that question again. So yeah. So I guess I was at the end of that one.
Okay. Any other frequently asked questions that you wanted to touch on?
Questions? No. I know that we are short on time, so I want to jump into the tips for actually taking the test.
Sure, let's do that. What are some of your best tips?
Okay, so some of my best tips is, number 1, to take the section test as soon as possible after learning that material. Now, in previous versions of the test, the training module lined up with the test. So you did this training module and then you took this test. And it makes it so much easier than going through all of the training and then trying to remember, what you learned, 8 modules ago on the information. So, so as soon as possible after learning the information, take the test. Now that's a bigger challenge now with the way it's set up, because it's no longer a one-to-one. And one of the benefits of my course is that we teach you what is in the section 1 test. Like, that's what we're teaching you now. And then you're going to go take the section 1 test. And what you need to know in the section 2 test, this is what you're teaching you now. So it's easier if you have my course, but it's still possible if you don't have my course. You just go through 2 sections maybe, and then take the test, or try and take the test. And if you come across, by the way, if you start to take the test and you exit out of it, you decide, oh shoot, like I'm not ready for this, there's no penalty for that. That does not count as one of your tries at taking the test. It doesn't count if you exit out. The only thing is if you exit out, then when you come back in, you're going to get a different test. But if you come across material like, oh shoot, I haven't learned that yet, then you can just exit out, no penalty.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So let's assume someone, is wanting to bootstrap this and not invest in the course. Do you have any guidance about how to match up whatever you're going to get from the Intuit training to those 6 exams? Like, because you're saying you match up perfectly, so that makes me think like, well, golly, I got to buy Margie's course. But is there any way to kind of hack that? Is it like the first 2 modules or section 1? Like, have you figured out what they're teaching, how they're trying to teach it?
Yeah, I know how they've done it. And I have debated, like, should I publish this? Like, should I tell people like exactly? Okay. Right now I'm not publishing it, but I will tell you that it is chronological. So it's not, the tests don't jump around. So if you, for example, go through the first couple of trainings, then they will match section 1, and the last section 6 is the last few trainings. Got it. It is in chronological order. It doesn't jump around. So that might be helpful.
Okay, no, I think that's great. Yeah, guys. So maybe study 3 and then take the first one, and then take the second test, and like, oh, that's too much, X out, and then study chapter 4. So that's helpful.
Yeah, and again, there's no penalty for doing that. So if you if you try to take the test and you're like, oh shoot, this is not something I learned yet, just exit out, and it doesn't count as one of your 3 tries.
Let me answer a question here from Debbie really quickly. Because I know the answer. Yes, you'll be in your QuickBooks Online Accountant training portal. You'll be in the exam section, and Margie will tell you, here's what you need to study for this one test. And then I bet she says, now go take the test. And you'll go take the test, and then you'll come back and you'll take exam number 2.
Yeah.
I remember when I did it, like there wasn't a penalty for jumping around. So maybe if you just kind of like to be crazy, you can go to Margie's module 6 first because you're living on the wild side. But it's study what Margie's teaching, or study in like what we just talked about, the QuickBooks Online material that they provide. Study maybe 2 to 3 sections, and that should for sure cover you for test number 1. Go take test number 1, and then study a little more. So yes, Debbie, I hope that answers your question. Any other tips, Margie?
Yes. So the test is open book. So that means that, you can take the test and then you can go look stuff up. And, you're encouraged to do that. And there's 2 ways you can look up. So you can look up in QuickBooks Online, in the Intuit training, you can go back and look through the information, or you can test it in the sample company. So every single person listening to this video should know how to load the sample company, because that is such a gift from Intuit that you can go in and you can test these things. And so if you come across a question, and this is, oh my gosh, so as part of the course, I offer retake coaching, and I'll see what people are answering, and say, this is the most frequently thing that comes out of my mouth is, did you test that? Because if you come across a question, and there are lots of questions like this on the test, how do you get to such and such?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is just keystrokes. It's just, you click the gear icon, then you click the company settings, and you click advanced, like whatever it is, right? And they'll say, there are lots of questions like this. How do you get to that? Well, if you don't instantly know it off the top of your head, and why would you, then you just go into the sample company and click it, and then you know the answer to the test.
Also, the user interface is constantly changing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of mind-blowing too, which is part of the reason why they kind of have to update the material all the time, is because the the add a sales receipt used to be on the right, now it's on the left in the green bubble. It's like, you log that. So it's not, that doesn't mean you're smart, and it also doesn't mean you're a good bookkeeper. It means I went into the sample company and I clicked 3 times and I put them in the right order. I selected, I selected answer C. That's a great tip.
Yeah. So related to that, there are things that there are features that are discussed in the training and on the test that are not available in the sample company. So, and 2 huge examples of that for the basic test are the receipt capture feature and the new instant deposit feature. So neither of those things you can do in the sample company. What that means is that you have to know where to find the instructions in the Intuit training, which leads me to my next tip. Is because it's open book and you can go back and you can look in the training, you need to know where to find the answer in the training, right? And the best way to do that is to create an outline for yourself. So create an outline that tells you, okay, this module covered this topic and this module covered this topic. So you can look at your outline and quickly go back to the training to find the answer that you're looking for. If you purchase my course, that you get that outline automatically. But if you're not going to purchase my course, that's fine. Just create the outline yourself so that you can go in and you can answer. I mean, you don't want to spend all day, doing this. So, yeah.
Let me chime in. We got Toppy. She said the receipt capture feature and the instant deposits feature is what you said are not in the sample company yet.
Yeah, those are two
So
big examples.
two big examples. Nick Oz is saying, will there be a training course for the advanced exam anytime soon? I know you say you get asked that a lot.
Oh my gosh, that is the most frequently asked question. Yes, the advanced course is currently in development, and it is due to be released early 2021.
All right. So Nick, stay tuned here in this group and in the Bookkeeping Side Hustle group. We'll make sure that we get it advertised here soon.
Yeah.
We'll stay on her. We'll make sure she gets it done.
That's right. That's right. So
any other tips?
Let's see. I think we've covered just about everything, the huge things that I wanted to knock out. So
awesome.
Anything else that, I don't know, that you came up with, or?
I'm going to answer, Shannon, I'll answer your question in writing at the end of this video. I'll type it. It's about, if you take another course, you need Margie's course too. I want to give my favorite tip because I wrote a QuickBooks how to pass your exam article too.
And this is a great tip. I frequently include this too, and I forgot to mention it.
So what?
Credit.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for giving me credit. So almost every computer in your bar at the bottom of your computer, if you type the word snip, I think you're going to get a screen capture tool. Every time I had a question on my regular cert and my advanced cert, I would first of all screen capture the exam, and then you turn to where you get a little pencil, and I made a big red pencil in my image, and I moved it to my second monitor. And I tried to answer the question not on my actual test screen, but I answered it on my image. And I made sure if there were 5 options, I had a check on the right one, but I also had X's on all all the wrong answers. And if you go to bookkeepingsidehustle.com/pass-QuickBooks exam, you'll see I look like a little serial killer, like all these like nasty red marker marks on these images. But because it's not, I truly believe this is not an exam that tests whether you know QuickBooks Online super well. And even if you do know it well, it changes all the time. The interface changes. So that's not what this is about. Think of this more as a check the box. But it's a hard test and it's tricky. And my advice is find the right answer, but before you click next, also tell yourself why the other answers are wrong. And you usually can. It's like, oh, those two, like some of them, it's like the clicks, like how do you initiate a sales receipt? And maybe there's 3 clicks, and maybe 2 of them are in the wrong order. So they're the right 3, but they're in the wrong order. And you're like, oh yeah, that's why that's wrong. So I use that function all the time. And then I would save my little answer and I would put it in a Word document. So by the end of each module, if there were 10 questions, I had 10 pictures. So I knew that before I hit final, okay, I knew why I said what answer was right. And I knew why I said all the rest of the answers were wrong.
Yep.
Well, Margie, you have this course. And so y'all, I have a big button on my website at bookkeepingsidehustle.com/pass-QuickBooks-exam. And that has a big red button on it where you can get to Margie's fast and easy QuickBooks Pro Advisor certification course. She's given this group a discount of $20 with the code HUSTLE, capital HUSTLE, HUSTLE, and message us, tag us. We'll give you that information. She has generously given me an affiliate link for this. So I always, of course, y'all know me, like to disclose that. But I've gotten to know Margie. I've talked with her. I think her tips are really good. I think this is really a good way to do it quickly. People have been getting their certification without Margie's course for years, so don't think that it's a requirement. But if you want to just kind of blast through it, shoot, you could probably blast through it by midnight tonight if you purchase it and get it and listen. Block your day off.
All my videos and exercises are timed. And I mean that how much time it takes. So oh, it's only going to take me 5 minutes to get through this lesson. Then I can just, you can just knock it out. And the whole thing takes less than 4 hours to get through all the course material.
All right. I'm looking over. I don't see. Okay, hold on. Just checking. I presume that Margie's course is best to take after you've taken the free trainings from QBO. I think the answer is no.
No, oh, that's such a great question. No, my course replaces the Intuit training.
Okay.
So yeah, if you go through the Intuit training, it'll take you about 15 hours. And if you're like me, where you don't learn very well with reading, then it takes you even longer and then it's confusing and whatever. No, my course replaces that training and teaches you the same material. It's the same material, just teaches you in an easier, faster, more fun way.
Awesome. I did want to say, how do people get in touch with you? I told them how to find your course on my site, but why don't you've given your email, Margie at Crystal Clear Cashflow. I'm going to say it again, Margie at crystalclearcashflow.com. Yes. And any other ways to find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, but I do prefer email at that address.
Awesome. Okay, fair enough. Easy to keep it organized. Everyone's got their own little system. Folks, I am so grateful that Margie was here to help us today. Now, this interview it's for it's going to be an evergreen video, but it's particularly relevant for those of you who are trying to get those the QuickBooks Live bookkeeper job at Intuit, and that will kick off on Monday. We'll be having those interviews, or the interviews and the help from the recruiters from Intuit. But you'll have to have this certification to be able to get that job. And so that's why I particularly asked Margie to come and do a training with this particular group. So it positions you even better for getting that job with Intuit, if that's what you're trying to do. And if not, then just keep building your own business and get this certification and use these tips to grow and succeed and build your bookkeeping career. All right. Well, we're going to sign off. Margie, thank you so much. Thanks for being a resource to so many folks in this industry. And I look forward to hearing people chime in and say they get their share when you get your certification. Yeah. If you shout it out, we'll give you some thumbs up and some little hearts and say great job. And then we'll tell you, all right, well, that's about the easiest thing you could do for your bookkeeping career. Now go do all the hard stuff, like get clients and actually serve clients. But it's a great milestone, and we'll cheer with you because that's what we do. So, all right, adios, everyone.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you.